Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I'm delighted to be joined by Matthew Hurley of the GAA Statsman podcast. It was a mental weekend of Gaelic football action. I mean, so much to discuss, so much to break down, so many talking points. I mean, it's very hard really to know where to start, to be perfectly honest, after a weekend like that. But just a reminder, we're brought to you by Declan Kirby GAA Star, the best children's GAA book out there on the market at the minute. You can find it on Amazon, Easons, all good bookshops, and also in the description down below. So make sure to check that out when you get a chance. Matthew, how's things? You're obviously still in the Cork jersey from the weekend, but I suppose at the same time, look, maybe you can, exit the championship with your head held high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Aaron. But it just wasn't the Cork game I was at. I was at the Sunday doubleheader as well. So what a weekend of action, especially with the Armagh Galway game. Like, coincidentally, I didn't find out about the eye just I see Tommy Rooney tweeted something. I looked at Twitter after the full time of the game. Like, I was just looking at the broad from the hill. I was like, what the hell is going on here? It was absolutely mental stuff. And it was unbelievable atmosphere now on Sunday. Saturday was a bit disappointing when it came to the Cork Dublin game, but I suppose we can hold our heads high. We're at that stage now. This is the stage we need to get it now. And I suppose John Cleary gathering the players in the huddle after the game was something to build on as well. And we lost to Dublin by 11, we lost to Kerry by 12. That's the level we need to get at. We have to go again now next year with players coming back into the team. But we'll talk about Cork in a minute. I think I know what game you're going to start with, Aaron. I hazard a guess it's going to be Armagh Galway, but I'm looking forward to chatting about the games with you in this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, you got it absolutely spot on there. It was Armagh 3-18, Galway 2-21, Galway winning on penalties. I mean, it was a mental game, really, wasn't it? Like, it's so hard, really, to know where to start with this because, you nearly forget, like, Armagh started the brighter. I think there were 4 points to 1 up early on, and then Galway come roaring back. They were in front for large parts, 6 points up going into extra time. But obviously you were on the hill and you were, I suppose, surrounded by the vast majority of Armagh fans that obviously took up Croke Park. Like, what was the atmosphere like when those 2 goals went in? Because, like, just absolute chaos. Like, from watching it on the TV, it just looked absolutely mental because, like, the 2 goals as well, it wasn't even like they were coming or like Armagh had momentum or anything like that. They weren't even well-worked goals. They were just mistakes and sort of breaking balls and the ball just bobbling all over the place. And obviously the first goal comes off the bar and then obviously gets palmed in by Grugan. The second one, obviously, is a mistake from Conor Gleeson and then finished off from Conor Turbot. So, like, what was it like when those goals went in? And I suppose, how would you describe the atmosphere?
Hard to really describe it, Aaron, in all honesty. Like, really, when Greg McCabe got sent off at the 60th minute, me and my dad were at the stadium. There was Armagh and Galway fans. The Galway fans were actually good as well. They were chanting away a few naughty chants here and there, but yeah, it added to the atmosphere definitely. But I suppose when Greg McCabe got sent off, we all thought, this is it now. Armagh need the next score after this to kind of rebuild a bit of hope. But at the same time, when Kieran Malloy kicked that point to make it a 6-point game, I thought, that's it. Galway are in the semi-finals, and surely they can't mess it up from here. But yeah, one ball goes in, it causes carnage, and it's in the back of it. I didn't know what happened down the other. It was obviously down the other end, and oh my God, what happened in the hill afterwards? And even I think it was Shane Walsh or some Galway player kicked the point after that. I'm thinking 4-point game. Surely Galway have it now. Armagh score another goal then. Like Conor Gleeson, I thought, he's caught it out. Balls dropped short, and they'll look up again. It's in the back of the net. And like, what is happening here? It's absolutely unbelievable. And Galway win the kick out. I'm thinking Shane Walsh is running near the Hogan stand. I'm thinking, just run down the clock, Shane. Run down to the corner. That's all you have to do. Or even kick the ball dead. Just do anything. And he kicks it right into the centre, and Armagh gather it, go down the field, and then get a free. And even I was turning around to my dad saying, Rian O'Neill, he's getting this. He's kicked it before. He's going to get this free. And there's going to be absolutely pandemonium in the stadium. And lo and behold, he kicked that point. What a score. That was under that much pressure as well. What a score. And then, obviously, all hell breaks loose at the final whistle then. Like, we were trying to calm ourselves down, the people in the hill, after that ridiculous end. And then that happens over near the Cusack end. It was absolutely mental, Harland. Definitely a game where like you were happy to be there. It was just an unbelievable atmosphere. Great to be neutral as well. You look at both sides of the fence as well. Like, it was absolutely unbelievable. But that end of the game was absolutely mental. And even the time period, even when we get into that, like, there's so many talking points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, like, the brawl is, I suppose, it's kind of been over talked about at this point. Like, I made a video on it yesterday discussing it, and obviously everyone's kind of been going on about it on Twitter. So I don't want to speak about it too much because I feel like it's sort of, it has been overly spoken about now at this stage. I think kind of everything that's been said about it has been said, and that's kind of it. But, like, I suppose briefly, like, what was your thoughts, I suppose, as you've seen it all, and then obviously seen the aftermath after, and you obviously had Pat Spillane going mad on the Sunday game, and Sean Kavanagh, Kieran Whelan talking about it, all the reaction on Twitter. Like, what's it been like for you, sort of seeing all that? Because I know for myself, like, it's been like you nearly feel bad for the lad, Tiernan Kelly. At the same time, like, obviously what he's done is wrong, and he shouldn't have done what he done. But at the same time, there does seem to be a mad witch hunt out for him on social media, and I don't really agree with that either, to be honest.
I don't, to be honest, either. Like, I've said in one of my posts there that not that I agree with it, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if Tiernan Kelly never pulls on an Armagh shirt again. Like, because of the media backlash over that. Clonaireann, actually, before this podcast has come out, have actually released a statement saying to stop this trial by media on Twitter. I think it's totally wrong, in all honesty. Like, you see, even I think Philly McMahon did it to Ciara Donaghy a few years ago in the All-Ireland final. Like, eye gouging has been a thing over the past few years. And what's even more disgraceful, I thought, was Armagh and Galway going down the same tunnel. I thought, like, why is this in the GAA at the same time? Like, this is happening between our two counties, Dublin and Cork. I remember the league final in 2011. This was 11 years ago. Michael Sheehan's going down the tunnel, and Bernard Brogue and Dermot Connolly were having a barney, and then Philly McMahon comes in and all hell breaks loose. You would have thought then the GAA would have had common sense. But of course, as we've mentioned previously in other podcasts, the GAA and common sense do not combine whatsoever. Like, I mean, like, it's 2022 and this is still happening. Like, and there's steps going down to that them dressing rooms as well. That's even more dangerous. I mean, the GAA need to sort that. And even I was looking at the full game highlights as well. Like, they were actually going to go to an ad break. The music was all playing, and then this fight breaks out. Darren Maloney comes back on commentary, and oh my God, it was an unbelievable experience just watching that from the hill as well. And but about Tiernan Kelly, I think it's wrong the way the media have treated him. Look, I'm not defending Tiernan Kelly for what he did or anything. I think it was wrong what he did as well. He should learn from it. Like, that could have easily damaged Damien Comer's eyesight. It was totally wrong what he did. At the same time, people are saying Damien Comer started the fight, but it was a bit of a shoulder barge. It wasn't too bad until players went in. Another disgraceful aspect was the red cards given to Ed Nugent and Sean Kelly. I don't know what was that about. Like, even look at the replays, even looking at it over and over again. But according to GAA rules, even if you go in and break a fight up, if you try to do that, you're part of a brawl and you add to the brawl, and that's why they got sent off. But at the same time, that's like the GAA are thinking the players should just stand back, lads, stop fighting, instead of trying to break it up. At the same, the GAA need to sort out their rules. They need to sort out this thing with Croke Park going down the tunnel. Like, that's even more disgraceful. What Tiernan Kelly did, as disgraceful, I think.
Yeah, it was a strange one, really. Like, and you'd imagine, like, the referee and the officials had been, like, because obviously they'd already gone down the tunnel at that point. So I'd imagine they were obviously maybe looking at some of the footage, like, very briefly to see what was going on. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like they were there in the instant and had a first view of it. Like, they were obviously back down the tunnel. So maybe they didn't, maybe they didn't get to see any footage. But I'd imagine anyway they went and maybe had a quick look, or someone tried to gather a quick look or whatever. So yeah, it is quite strange how they came to the red cards for Sean Kelly and Aidan Nugent. I'm not really too sure what that was about. Like, and you've seen this a lot of the time sometimes when these decisions are being made. Like, the referee kind of just picks out one man and picks out another man from the other end. It seems to be sort of just like a bit of a random just a random selection, really, and nothing really to it. But I suppose getting back to the game, I mean, it obviously goes to penalties, and I know you've been quite vocal before in saying that you're in favour of penalties in Gaelic football, and obviously plenty of discussion around that. But like, I suppose it is harsh in many respects for Armagh, because after getting so far back into it, and then to lose it on penalties, you know, like would you still stand by that?
It's an interesting one. Like, up the hill, I was just like, I want this game to go to penalties now because of the excitement it brings. But at the same time, if you put yourself in their shoes, like Armagh to go out of the championship at this stage on a penalty or kicking penalties, where Sean Cavanagh said it and you said it previously, even 2 years ago, it's not the fundamental skills of Gaelic football. You know, it take your ball off the ground. Maybe retaking competition would have been better. But at the same time, like, I was probably coming from the point of view of like provincial titles. Like, I remember a few seasons ago, like, this tore me off replays completely when Cork and Kerry were playing in 2015. Cork and Kerry went to a replay after Cork gave everything. Then we lose the replay, and then we got hammered by Kildare after 7-day turnaround after that. And I didn't like replays. But at the same time, both of these teams will be out of the championship anyway. There's not going to be an extra game after this. So they could have done a replay. I guess there's scheduling in clubs and all that, but they'll only be pushing this game to next week. The week after then is the semi-finals. They would have had time to do this. So, you know, I think for provincial championships, it should be going down to penalties. But for quarterfinals, I think it should be a replay. In all honesty, like, you look at the amount of effort Armagh put into the game to even come back after 10 minutes to go in normal time at about 6 or 7 points down, and to come back in additional time. They certainly deserve a replay after that. You know, both sides do. And it was a mental penalty shootout. Like, I was thinking, like, all that, the Armagh forwards, the least they could do was put the ball on target. They didn't. Stephen Campbell and Conor Turber both missed their penalties, and Galway scored them. Like, it was mental atmosphere there again. But yes, it does add to the atmosphere. It's much more entertaining for the fans inside the stadium and the fans at home, definitely. But for Armagh to go over the championship, for once in quite a while, I actually agree with Sean Cavanagh. It is a disgrace that Armagh are going over the championship in this sort of fashion. It should have gone to a replay next week. And it probably would have added more revenue for the GAA when you think about it. It's a full house next week in Croke Park for this game again. I think that would be something to behold. Even have a double header with the hurling, maybe. I don't know what you think about that yourself, but you know, that could have been an option for the GAA, definitely. But for Armagh to go out in penalties to the quarterfinal stage, I think is a disgrace in its own way.
Yeah, like, I think even maybe golden score maybe could be a potential option there. Like, I mean, like, you could have a scenario really where you just have replays for provincial finals, semi-finals, All-Ireland finals, then maybe something like that. Maybe for quarterfinals, I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely. I think really what they need to do is just put a vote out to county boards and just see really what they come back with. What would they rather? And then, you know, whoever votes for the most, and if there's a majority vote that comes back, then they can run with it from there. Plenty of comments flying in there, so much appreciated. GD says Derry for Sam, and Big Man says here haunt Derry from a Monaghan man. So we certainly will get on to Derry a little bit later. Rommel says hope the Cork lads enjoyed their big day out at HQ. See us again in 2042. So some shots fired there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of Galway, because in some respects I feel like they're sort of like, I feel like they're nearly going under the radar quite a bit in many ways. Like, I mean, they've obviously won the Connacht title. They won every game this year, barring Roscommon at the end of the league, which was a dead rubber. They obviously lost to Roscommon in the final as well. They've now come through Armagh as well. Like, there certainly is faults there, but I feel like in the All-Ireland big picture, everyone's talking about Dublin, Kerry and Derry. Like, no one's really talking about Galway. Like, is there a reason for that, do you think?
I honestly think for this game in particular, the reason was because of the stuff that happens with the brawl, with the penalty shootout, with the red card to Gregory McCabe, everything that happened, Pat Spillan's rants, everything that happened in the game kind of masked over the fact that Galway were better, I think, in the game, despite, you know, the size levelling, and Armagh probably deserved a replay next week. But if you had to pick a winner from the game on Sunday, you have to say Galway probably deserved it. Even looking at the stats of the game, they had a 74% shot conversion rate. Like, if there wasn't a brawl or there wasn't anything going on, that wasn't to do with football or anything like a red card or something like that to Gregory McCabe, we would be talking about Galway's excellent shooting in this game. It was absolutely outstanding. Shane Walsh was brilliant. Comer, Killy McDade from midfield has been a revelation. 1-2, from midfield. And even that goal, putting out of the bag when no one thought he would. What a brilliant achievement. One weakness I found in the Galway team watching the game on Sunday, though, was the goalkeeper. The obvious, I know it's harsh and all that, but the 3 goals kind of went down to him. One thing, the ball just dropping into defence, you have to think the goalkeeper, he has to command his area there, even punch the ball over the bar, take the point or something like that, punch it to the side, but he punched it right in front of the Armagh player and it's a goal. And even for the second goal, Kieran Malloy having his back to the ball, and I'm thinking, just get it out of there, just kick it into the stand, anything, but no, and Armagh get the goal. That's one weakness I would find in this Galway team. But even we were talking about on my podcast last week in preview to the quarterfinals, the Galway are going under the radar. They lost to one team this year, Roscommon. A lot of people are saying Derry, they'll have too much strength for them. Derry are a good team, no doubt about that. But Galway, I just think they're going under the radar. To defence, I think their defence against Armagh was actually okay. When you think about it, Armagh actually had the better of the ball in the first half. I thought Armagh were the much better team, but Galway kept turning the ball over in that first half as well. Kieran Malloy was excellent. Sean Kelly, when he was on the pitch, was excellent as well. So, if other than the goalkeeper, I actually think Galway have the credentials to win the All-Ireland this year. I genuinely believe that. They have some very nice players. Shane Walsh might not have had his best day on Sunday, but other than that, you have players. Robert Finnerty, I think, is another player that's going under the radar. 13 points in the championship. I don't know what it is about Galway. People are just hyping up Derry, Dublin, Kerry. They are good teams, no doubt about that, but Galway are as good as them, and they could win the Ireland this year. And would that be something to behold?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because, if you go on social media or anything like that, and even in the comments here, for example, as well, a lot of people sort of picking up Derry, and obviously we'll get to them in a brief moment, they're serious contenders. But when you go on Twitter, there is a lot of people speaking about Derry, Armagh, Kerry, obviously big sort of passionate fan bases of their counties, whereas Galway, it is probably more of a hurling county, and you see that in Croke Park, there certainly wasn't as many Galway fans as there was Armagh fans, and there'll definitely be a lot more Derry fans than Galway fans. So I do think the fact that they're in the All-Ireland semi-finals in hurling as well, I think maybe the footballers maybe aren't even getting the same credit in their own county. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they aren't getting the following or the backing that they deserve, because even when I do look online, a lot of their praise actually comes from non-Galway people a lot of the time.
That's the thing. It's funny because I was actually hearing on the train going back to Maynooth that night, actually, some Galway fans were saying, the hurling fans would have hoped Galway would have lost in Croke Park on Sunday. It might seem a bit surprising, but at the same time, it's amazing how some fans are just so one-dimensional to one code. And as I was hearing from RF on a podcast I did previously, it's mostly Northern Galway that's football, Southern Galway that's hurling. There was actually a fair few Galway fans. There was actually as many as Mayo and Kerry, to be fair, Galway fans. There was actually a few in the stadium, but it's kind of shocking to hear that when the hurling folk aren't backing the Galway footballers, which is very sad to see. It's happening in Cork as well. It's happening in Clare. It's happening in Dublin, I'm sure, Aaron, as well. So, it's hard to envisage that at the same time, but it is happening, and it's interesting to hear that even on trains going home. But yeah, it's I think Galway, it's an even split. I would have thought it would have been an even split going up on Sunday, but clearly not. Clearly it's more of a hurling fan base. It'd be interesting to see how much Galway hurling fans there will be on Sunday against Limerick, actually, because there wasn't much against Cork. They were probably the least supported out of the 4 teams. So I don't know, is it just a Galway thing where they don't go up in their numbers for these type of games, or they just focus on hurling solely? But I don't know, is that a bit shocking for you to hear that, Aaron, that the hurling folk wanted Galway to actually lose on Sunday? Were you shocked by that?
Yeah, it is. It is quite surprising, all right. Joseph says here as well, Galway is a dual county though, and yeah, that's exactly, I suppose, what we're saying. But yeah, it is a bizarre one, really. I suppose if some fans are saying that, and obviously they speak for themselves. Obviously they don't speak for the entirety of the fan base, and there has been plenty of times where I've seen Galway people commenting on videos and all the rest, about the football and everything else. So, it's probably just one of them things, I suppose, as well. Like, they haven't really, other than 2019, when they got to 2018 when they got to an All-Ireland semi-final, like, Galway haven't really done anything in football at all really since the early 2000s. So there's a whole generation of fans there that would have grown up with hurling. Like, their heroes would have been playing hurling. Like, other than like Michael Meehan and a few other lads, really there hasn't been too many big Galway footballers. Other than, look, if you're a fan of Corofin, or you're part of that sort of particular area of the county where club football is really strong in Galway, then fair enough, I'm sure you do. But if you're in a hurling section growing up in Galway, like, it's gonna be the heroes. It's gonna be the hurling heroes that you're gonna be fascinated by, that you're gonna be talking about at school and all the rest. And same in Dublin, like, we're growing up, even in 2013 when the Dublin hurlers made the All-Ireland semi-finals. I know a lot of people that didn't want to go to the semi-finals versus Cork that year because it was all about the football, and it is fair enough, because you can't expect fans to pay. Like, it's expensive enough following one code. It's very expensive following two codes. So, like, you do have a lot of sympathy for Galway fans at the same time,
I suppose so. It's even the same as Cork. Like, even the Cork fans on Saturday, I thought they'd actually turn up in their numbers. Now the hurlers went out last week, but there was very, very, very few Cork fans now on Saturday, and that was a bit, not really shocking, because the footballers are just not supported in Cork. Same as the hurlers in Dublin, same as the footballers in Galway. Clare as well to some extent, but there was actually some Clare fans now on Saturday, so it's kind of difficult to balance both. Tipperary the same, even in 2016. I remember they were in a quarter-final for the first time in years. They got through against Galway and got to an All-Ireland semi-final against Mayo, and there wasn't much Tipperary fans that either. There wasn't much Clare fans in the same day against Kerry. Like, I don't know, like, you have to have empathy as well towards these fans. Like, even nowadays, like, the cost of diesel, the cost of petrol, the cost of hotel prices, the cost of train tickets. There's everything that is there. It's kind of shocking. And even, like, I was here, Mayo fans going back in the trade as well. It's like, even talking about bandwagon or supporters even get to semi-finals. Like, for example, if the Cork footballers reach the semi-final now in football, I'm not saying they will over the next few years, but if they do, like, a lot of the so-called spectators will go up to watch the Cork footballers and have a day out or something like that, have a drink at a bar or something like that. But what they'll always have is the supporters. It's the same with Mayo fans. There wasn't much now against Kerry, but the supporters, the loyal supporters, they were still there. Their numbers, the loyal supporters for Galway footballers were still there. Armagh, I think there was a few spectators, in all honesty, just trying to get a day out of it. Kerry, there were supporters, in fairness. Derry maybe getting a day out of it, but the majority of Derry fans are actually supporters as well, so it comes down to that as well. Is there bandwagoners and all that, like but at the same time, I do get your point on and even nowadays, ticket prices, diesel prices, hotel prices going through the roof in Dublin at the moment. So yeah, I do get that point of view, but the main thing I learned from this weekend, the supporters will always be there for their country. The spectators are only there sporadically.
Yeah, and Joseph says here as well, I'm surprised because Galway footballers have 9 Celtic crosses compared to the hurlers only having 5 All-Irelands. Yeah, I suppose like only Galway people would really know, to be perfectly honest. And to be fair, like, I have met lots of passionate Galway fans down the years as well, and this certainly isn't taking aim at any fan bases or anything like that. It just is kind of curious to know, really, like, because Galway is a big county, like, do you know what I mean? And it is just interesting nonetheless. But finishing up on the team, on the Galway team, obviously the team playing out on the pitch, I mean, as you said there, Kieran Malloy, I think, is a player that's really gone under the radar. He could be a potential shoe-in for an all-star. You could arguably say they have the best midfield in the country, maybe, as well. Yeah. Like, I think Derry might push them on that. If Dublin are on it, I think they're up there, and they get McCarthy back, maybe. Kerry obviously have a couple of injuries around that area of the field. But, like, Galway have a lot of strength around midfield, and you've seen that with those turnovers against Armagh. And then, as you said, their forwards as well. Like, they really, really are criminally going under the radar. And, if I was a betting man, I'd probably throw a bit of money on Galway, to be honest, because I think I was checking the bookies' odds there, and they're the 4 favourites at the minute. So And look, you can't take away Derry. Look, Derry are going to be a serious opposition. And I'd probably still back Derry, to be perfectly honest. But at the same time, like, if Galway can get through Derry, I think there'll be a serious match for either Kerry or Dublin in the All-Ireland final.
Another point worth noting as well, Aaron. Remember the score of the league. Galway stuck 4 goals past Derry, big. Like, people seem to forget that quite easily, And not take away from Derry. Derry are a superb team, and I've been crediting Derry throughout the year. And Conor Glass and Shane McGuigan, they're outstanding footballers. But Galway, they've lost to one team in Roscommon this year. They hammered Derry. They hammered everybody in Division 2, let's be honest, other than Roscommon, of course. And the main thing is as well, not only do they play brilliant football, they play it right as well. They do the right things at the right time. Like, let's not forget, in Parky Keefe, they scored 3-22. That's a hurling score, Like, and they scored 4 goals against Derry. They were absolutely outstanding in all their games. They had the best attack by far in the league throughout the 4 divisions. And it's amazing the way people forget these sort of things. Their defence has improved since the Mayo game. Like, in the Mayo game, it was outstanding. Against the Armagh game, it's got even better. So I'm not sure why people or the bookies don't back Galway. I'd actually, like, I'm not a betting man whatsoever. I'd never betted in my life, to be in all honesty. But if I was, I'd actually back Galway to win the All-Ireland. Their attack is brilliant. Their defence is brilliant. Their midfielders, they're not only working hard for the team, they're scoring. Like, Killy McDade won 2 the other day. Paul Conroy scored 4 or 5 points from play in the league final, maybe even 6, I think. So there is scores there in that Galway team throat. And look at the stat there, 74% shot accuracy. Galway are coming, and people seem to be sleeping on them. It's kind of a weird thing. Like, even you think with a team, like, for example, if Kerry hammered Dublin early on in the league in Tralee, and you would have thought Kerry would have been massive favourite, which they are going to the semi-final. So why are Galway, at least favourites going to this Derry game? It kind of boggles belief, in all honesty. And I think Galway are a team definitely to be backed. And even look at Dylan McHugh, other than Kieran Malaya, the other wing is an outstanding footballer as well. Matthew Tierney, Patrick Kelly scored 3 goals in the championship. And even the way they worked their goals as well, the first goal, the way they worked that, I thought I was really impressed with that. They didn't give up when Matthew Tierney hit the bar. They got the ball back very quickly. They had passed it inside. They were thinking, we'll try to get it. Most teams would be thinking, we'll get a point here to try and get something out of the attack. But their eye was for goal, and they got the goal in the end. And that's something that impresses me about this Galway team. They aren't conservative or anything. They're a great attacking side. They play a nice brand of football. And personally, to kind of quieten down the haters, I personally hope Galway win the All-Ireland from here. Because people are just not backing them, and they don't get the respect from what they deserve, frankly.
Yeah, Oisin says here, are you going to the Derry and Galway match? I am, actually. I got a ticket yesterday, so we'll be at that game, as well as the Tailteann Cup final as well, a bit of a double header. So very much looking forward to it. I suppose then finishing up on this game, I mean, Armagh, I suppose obviously disappointment from them in terms of how the season's ended. I mean, it's I think they've definitely made progress this year. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, looking at Division 1, I mean, I think McGinney's obviously going to stick around and give it another crack. They have a lot of very, very good players. So they're not a million miles away, but maybe it's just the indiscipline, I think, that's maybe caught up with them a little bit, in my opinion. But what do you reckon? Like, Armagh, look, I think they should be thereabouts next year, as long as you don't have lads opting out or injuries or anything like that. Like, they've got a very good squad, to be fair.
They have a very good squad, yeah. And you talk about the discipline there. They always seem to be involved in these fights. Not that I'm blaming Armagh or anything. We've actually mentioned it at the end of the league as well. But that's something that Armagh need to brush up on. I'm not sure will Kieran McGinney take another year for Armagh. I'm not entirely sure. I think he deserves another year after the year they've had. A lot of people came to Armagh. Another thing about Armagh, actually, out of all the other teams, I think Armagh probably have played the best brand of football. Their kicking style definitely suited Croke Park, and every time they kicked into the square, there was pandemonium in the Galway defence, and that has to be credit to Armagh, credit to their supporters as well. I honestly hope the stuff with Tierney Kelly dies down, really, because, he's only 20. He's younger than me. He's younger than yourself as well. He's only a young lad, and I hope all the stuff in the media just dies down. And Yeah, Armagh definitely have a good team to build on for next year. They have some good young players coming through. Kieran Donaghy is like he's a Kerry man, but at the same time, he's added something to the Armagh team. Like him on the sideline now on Sunday, it was, geez, he was absolutely mental and kicking every ball on the side. He was absolutely outstanding and a brilliant addition for them. And Ethan Rafferty, I think, has been a revelation goal. Honestly, he deserves an All-Star this year. Of course, if Orr Lynch doesn't improve on his performances already for Derry, but yeah, stuff to build on for our man next year, but I'm not sure will Kieran McGiddy stay on another year. I honestly hope he does because it's what he deserves after the year they've had. And best luck for our man next year. They'll probably want an Ulster title though. They haven't won one since 2008. I know we're like a broken record. Keep mentioning this, but Armagh fans will mention this as well. They haven't won it in 15 years. That's a long time for this Armagh team, and they should be aiming for that. Aiming for an Ulster title next year. That'll be a start for them.
Yeah, well, I think when you look at current form and you look at the progress they've made, I think you'd probably say they're the second best team in Ulster, maybe behind Derry, given on form this year. So I think, yeah, as you said there, I mean, that stat of them not getting to a final, Ulster final, and everyone else haven't got to an Ulster final before them, I think that's definitely something huge. I think they'll want to address because their record in Ulster, in particular under McGeaney, isn't particularly brilliant, to be honest. So that'll certainly be something they'll want to address. Celtic Boy says Derry for Sam, so plenty of comments flying in about Derry, and I suppose we will talk about them next. Derry 5-13, Clare 2-8. We were obviously both at this game, and Derry fans obviously bringing the noise, bringing the colour, and I mean, fair play to them. A huge performance, and like the quality of the goals as well was exceptional. I mean, like the power on the shot from Benny Heron, Connor Glass, excellent accuracy. Like really, like some of the best goals you'll see all year. Like Paul Cassidy's goal was right into the top corner. Couldn't have gone any more in the top corner. And then Shane McGuigan's goal as well, like that little loop over the keeper. I mean, just exceptional stuff from Derry. And I suppose what I wanted to say now is, I mean, we've all had it as Derry All-Ireland contenders, and they definitely are contenders now. Make no mistake about that. But could they now be favourites in your opinion? Like, could they have now gone above the likes of your Dublins and your Kerrys in the pecking order, or is it still maybe a bit too soon?
Obviously, like, jeez, I wouldn't put them above Kerry just yet. Like the way Kerry dismantled Mayo even in second or third gear was brilliant. I thought, like they did perform to their best, and they still beat Mayo by 8 points. That's something that needs to be praised, I think, out of this Kerry team. Would I put them above Dublin? Interesting question. I would say yes. Like, considering Dublin's performance against Cork the other day, I know Cork aren't up to the standard, but I wasn't really impressed with Dublin. I was really impressed with Derry. But at the same time, like, I honestly think, yes, Derry were outstanding, but maybe the performance has been blown out of proportion a small, teensy little bit, because I thought Clare were very naive once they got to Croke Park. Clare are a good side, and Colin Collins did an outstanding job with them. And yes, the goals were very well taken from this Derry team. Shane McGuigan, Conor Glass's goal was exceptional. But Clare, like even the first goal, the kick-out strategy, what was that about? Even when Cleary scored, you think any other team, right, lads, we need to set up for the next kick-out. But then Derry go down the wing and get a goal. And I'm thinking, how has this happened to this Clare team? And yeah, I thought they kind of went into Croke Park, a bit cocky after their Roscommon performance. Clare, I just thought it had that vibe a small bit. Yes, Derry could only beat what's in front of them, and they were absolutely outstanding. But I just thought Clare were a tad bit naive in this game, and Derry will have a better test now against Galway in the semi-final. We'll see how they perform against Galway. But and Pat Spillane was talking about they were a Croke Park. They certainly looked it against Clare. But I just thought, I don't know what you think about this, Aaron, that Clare weren't really up to scratch. They were too naive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they got caught. I think they were surprised by Derry attacking them, because I think we've all seen Derry be very defensive, obviously, through the Ulster Championship. A lot of men behind the ball. And like in the game against Clare, like they just went for it. They attacked them. And I remember I was even sitting beside some Derry fans, and even they were kind of a little bit surprised. They were like, geez, we're really going for this, we're not taking any prisoners here. And that was even something I was speaking with John McMahon on the podcast leading up. I was saying, it could be a weird game for Derry because it's not one that they should be defensive in, because if they go man to man, they'll beat Clare. You know, they have the better forwards, they have the better players, better midfield. You know, Shane McGuigan on his day, and you know, let's not forget his performance in Croke Park against Offaly in the Division 3 final last year was very, very good. So, you know, he's a man who's taken very, very well to Croke Park. So, yeah, I think Clare just really got caught probably napping a little bit in the first half, caught a little bit cold. I don't think they quite expected Derry to attack them in the way that they did. And, you know, when you're, you know, at one stage it was like 2-5 to a point. Like it was game over. And then I think you combine that with the fact that Clare's shooting was just way off. Like they were missing chances that they would normally score. And whether it was just a game too far, or, you know, whether maybe they just, you know, sort of, I suppose, played above themselves against Roscommon, I'm not sure. But look, all in all, you have to commend Clare for getting to an All-Ireland quarter-final. But as you said there, it probably was, they probably just weren't quite expecting Derry to get at them in the way that they did, I think.
Yeah, I suppose you could have that argument. Like we thought that Derry would be defensive, and even I was up with the Upper Cusack now nearer to the hill, and I thought even Derry were defensive then. There were still 50 men inside their own 45 at a point. So even when they were winning, you know, so yeah, it's a difficult one, but I think they will be more defensive now against Galway, and that could be a thing that actually catches Galway the way they defend. Like it is a very interesting one. And on Shane McGuigan as well, 1-8, 1-7 for play. Like I know it's only Clare, but that's an outstanding performance from him personally. Benny Heron was brilliant, and we're pointing out Shane McGuigan is now the top scorer of the championship, and he's definitely up for Player of the Year. I think he's been absolutely outstanding, and a bit of a cheeky interview afterwards as well, kind of added the entertainment at Croke Park. But yeah, Conor Glass was outstanding from midfield. Owen Lynch, I've said it before and I say it again. He was you know, brilliant coming up the field. He's very good at his distribution. Chrissy McCaig, very good. Brendan Rodgers, you were saying he probably deserves Footballer of the Year. I honestly think he does as well. 3 points from the Ulster final. He was solid as ever as well. Conor McCluskey as well. If Chrissy McCaig or Brendan Rodgers weren't as good as they were, Conor McCluskey probably would have got more plaudits as well. So, and Garrett McKinless, like every time he goes up the field, he seems to score a goal. Like, you know, it's a brilliant achievement by them. Shea Dowdy, very good. Paul Cassidy, like all over the team. Derry look very good, very strong. And yeah, they will be a team to fear. But I think Galway will be a real test of their character now in the semi-final. It should be a very interesting game to see that. And Rory Gallagher, I think this result cements his place as the best manager of the country at the moment. I think he's been absolutely outstanding, not just in this game, but outstanding over the past few years with Fermanagh and Donegal as well. He's a brilliant manager down through the years, and the passion he shows on the sideline, even if it is against Clare, it's absolutely brilliant to see. And I'm very intrigued out by this semi-final between Derry and Galway. I really am. Like, will Derry set up defensively? Will they put 15 men behind the ball and just let Galway pass around them and catch them on the counter-attack? I'm not sure. Would Derry have this will be a test of Derry's energy as well. Will they have the energy levels to deal with this Galway team? You know, it's going to be a very, very interesting game. And yeah, they have to be up there with all our favourites, but I just think Kerry are still a step above Derry at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, all right, though, because at the same time, like when you mentioned Derry maybe lacking, or well, not necessarily lacking energy, but I suppose like we'll find out whether they can live with a side like Galway. But like at the same time, like they almost got like they never really got tired against Donegal at all, really, in my opinion. Like in extra time they came alive even more. Like it was the Donegal lads that really started to fade towards the end of extra time. You know, they were like machines in many ways, like getting through Tyrone, getting through Monaghan. They've won a lot of games comfortably as well. Like, let's not forget that. Like, they beat Tyrone comfortably, beat Monaghan comfortably. They've beaten Clare comfortably as well. You know, like in Chrissy McCaig, obviously unbelievable in a cornerback as well. Like, I think he's marked McManus, McBrearty, McCurry. Like, he's marked some really, really good forwards and done a tremendous job on all 3 of them. So, you know, I think at the same time they're showing that they can deal with some of those teams. And yeah, in Croke Park will be a little bit different, but it's going to be very interesting because, like, if Galway are at the races, then I think it will be very, very tough. But Jesus, yeah, like even thinking about it, it's just both finals, to be honest, I think are going to be, or both semi-finals are going to be very, very hard to call. Like, I know a lot of people would side towards Kerry against Dublin, but I still think both of them will be really close.
I think the both of them would be extremely close. And what's brilliant as well is the Tactic Cup finals before this Derry Galway game. And yeah, I think this will win it outright. I think so too. TCC Sports. I think Galway are a very good team and going under the radar definitely. Yeah, but yeah, it should be very interesting semi-finals definitely. And I'd just be intrigued to see what Derry turns up. Will they go for goals right away against Galway and soak up the pressure then? Or will they do it from the outset, go back in? Like, there's a load of aspects to this game. And even, I hope to God now that Sean Kelly gets his red card rescinded. You know, that'll be an intriguing battle, him against Shane McGuigan, you know. And even Killy McDade up against Conor Glass in midfield and Paul Conroy here as well. Like, I think that'll be a thing to behold. And maybe Derry could learn something from Armagh as well. Just punt the ball long into Galway's goalkeeper, see what happens. You know, that's another interesting aspect as well. It'll be interesting. Like, I would think now Chrissy McKay will be on Shane Walsh. Like, that's something that is very, very interesting to see. Like, geez, so many aspects to this game. Brendan Rodgers going on Damien Comer. Oh my God! Like, the matchups for this game will make your mouth water, Aaron. Like, it's absolutely brilliant all over the field. And I'm thinking Gareth McKinless is going to be on Matthew Tierney. Will he go up the field or keep Matthew Tierney quiet by winding the house? Like, you know, this will be so battle between Derry and Galway. Even talking about this is making my mouth water. Like, it's absolutely brilliant to see. And even better to see as well, two of these counties going to another semi-final. Derry for the first time since 2004. Galway for only the second time since 2001. Like, it's going to be refreshing to see this as well. I think it's going to be a brilliant atmosphere. And I wouldn't be surprised with the Tailteann Cup final as well on that day that this will be a full house in Croker. It'll be an unbelievable atmosphere.
Yeah, well, apparently I've been hearing actually that the Derry and Galway game actually so far has sold more tickets than the Dublin and Kerry game, surprisingly enough. Now, maybe that's because the obviously the Tailteann Cup final is on as well. I'm still not 100% sure where the minor final is going to be, the minor football final, whether that is in Croke Park as well earlier that morning. So I suppose that could maybe play a bit of a part into it. But yeah, I mean, Croke Park is definitely going to be absolutely rocking. Make no mistake about that. Kid Cuddy says, I think Derry will edge Galway tactically. Gallagher is a better manager than Joyce. Looking forward to seeing the chess match. Yeah, I'd probably side with that as well. And like, even when you said there as well, like Comer or Rodgers on Comer, like when you see Rodgers bursting so far up the pitch, you know, like we seen Michael Murphy wasn't able to really keep up with him. Like, is Comer going to track back? Like, do you know what I mean? I don't really know if he's a man to track back all the time consistently. Like, does he have the energy and the legs to do so? Like, and I know we're kind of looking ahead a little bit, but yeah, I mean, the matchups are just going to be extremely fascinating.
They are definitely. And just on the Michael Murphy thing with Brendan Rodgers, actually, I think Murphy actually went out to midfield, and that kind of pushed Rodgers out to midfield. That was kind of a stupid tactic looking back at it from Donegal. But I don't think Pádraig Joyce will make that mistake. I think he'll leave Comer in the square, maybe at least maybe centre forward or something like that. He won't push Comer to midfield. So that'll be a challenge for Brendan Rodgers, definitely. Chrissy McKay, it's interesting to see him. Will he stick to glue on Shane Walsh? He probably will now. Conor McCluskey, even he has an important job at Robert Finnerty. You know, like, geez, like the amount of battles in this game, it's something to behold. Even, I'm thinking Paul Cassidy or Ethan Doherty going on Kieran Malloy. Like, Kieran Malloy seems to burst up the field as well. And this technically seems to trap back as well. Like, geez, Benny Heron on is going to go on Jack Lynn. This would be a big battle for Jack Lynn. Like, it's his first real taste of a semi-final. You know, going on Benny Heron, who scored 3 goals already in the championship. Like, geez, even talking about these battles all over the field will be something to behold. But to probably answer your question on Comer, I think he'd probably go to full forward. The Galway manager, even Cian O'Neill, even mentioning him now, he seemed to be a defensive coach with Cork now, and he might have a plan up his sleeve. Like, this could, like, people were mentioning in the comments there, this could be a chess match. Jeez, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, with Cian O'Neill there, with Rory Gallagher, with strong defenses on both teams. Oh, so many interesting aspects to this game, and we will talk about them in future weeks. But my God, like the matchups of this game, the tactics, Jesus, like what a game we're in for. And even like before I went on, I was really okay. Derry and Galway, I'm thinking okay, it's an okay game. But even talking about it now, oh my God, I'm so excited for this game now, Aaron. I don't know about yourself. You're going to the game.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, it's gonna be very, very exciting. Make no mistake about that. And obviously the Keane O'Neill factor that you said there as well, like that's something I even forgot about. Like even you forget that he came into the team this year, like so he really has added another dimension really to this Galway side. Like I think tactically you could see the improvements really in them this year as opposed to the last 2 years. Gary Hutton says, I love you boys. Appreciate that. Derry won't beat Dubs. I'm Derry. Good luck, Dublin. And Derry made the best team win. Do you know what I would say, actually, is stylistically, I think Derry would be an absolute nightmare to Dublin because Dublin, like when you see Dublin struggle so much at breaking through blanket defences this year, like every time we've lost in the league, it's because we've come up against teams, we've put a lot of men behind the ball and we haven't been able to break through them. And even against Cork as well, like we struggled really for large parts. Like the only thing that got us out of that was the fact that we had better players with better conditioning as well. And we're obviously, a level or two above Cork. But, like that's why if it was Derry and Dublin in the All-Ireland final, like I'd actually, like as a Dublin fan, I nearly fear Derry more than Kerry, to be honest.
Yeah, it is an interesting a thought process there. Like we're going to talk about Cork and Dublin in a minute, but at the same time, like in Leinster, I said this on my podcast as well. Like the Leinster defenses were so naive, and maybe that's why Dublin were kind of talked up the way they were. Like you look at Kildare's defense, Meath's defense, Wexford's defense as well. Derry will not perform like that if they came up against Dublin at the All-Ireland final, and even Kerry and Paddy Tally in there, like they won't. That'll be a defensive nightmare for Dublin as well. So, like, if I was a Dublin fan, I wouldn't like to be in our shoes, Aaron, to be honest with you, looking at the defences. If he got over Kerry, I'd nearly rather Galway in the final, but honestly, we're thinking too far ahead about this. Like, we're only talking about the quarterfinals and we're on to the All-Ireland final now. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing we're talking about this, but Derry and Galway, Kerry and Dublin, even like we haven't even finished talking about the two other quarterfinals, and I'm so excited about these two semi-finals coming up. Like, my God, the tactics in this, the matchups, the way Kerry are going to play, the way Galway are going to play. Like, there's so many angles we have to talk about in the next few weeks. But my God, what semi-finals we're going to look forward to. And I think this is the most excited we've been for semi-finals for a few years now. Maybe since 2012 when Donegal and Mayo surprised Dublin and Cork. I think that was the last time we were really pumped up for semi-finals like this. But it's been a long time, 10 years, it's a long time, Aaron, to be excited for these semi-finals. And, it's great for Gaelic football. It's great that Buff Egan is talking about Gaelic football finally on his stories as well. It's getting people excited about these. And maybe football this year is more exciting than the hurling.
Yeah, it might be. Like it definitely has been. I think obviously the championship was slow to get going when we were going through the early rounds of provincials. But I think once we've got into the All Ireland series, it's been very, very good. And hopefully, anyway, like the GAA can take note of that, and sort of that can be the way of moving forward. But as you said there, like it was Kerry 118, Mayo 13 points. I suppose in the end, I suppose chatting about Mayo, first of all, like obviously the news broke yesterday that James Horan steps down as Mayo manager. And there certainly has been a few candidates who has been linked with the Mayo manager so far. Like Ray Dempsey is the early front runner. He won two county titles with Knockmore. Obviously won a Connacht Club Senior Football Championship, got them to the Connacht Club Senior Football Championship final last year against Padraig Pearce's. They obviously came up short, but Mike Solan's obviously been mentioned as well. Jim McGuinness, Kevin McStay. Like, what would be your thoughts? Like, who do you think should be the ideal man to come in and finally be the man to potentially lead Mayo to the eventual promised land?
The ideal man, Aaron, would be Jim McGuinness, but realistically, that's not going to happen. Imagine Jim McGuinness going to Mayo now, but you know what? I think Dempsey does have the credentials, definitely. But look at even Lee Keegan and Kevin McLaughlin having moments with their children towards the end of the game. Like I was thinking, and even Mayo, there was no cutting edge about them on Sunday. And even James Horan leaving, maybe this is the end for this Mayo team. It started in 2011 when they dismantled Cork, surprisingly so. And even they got over Dublin, surprisingly so, in 2012. And they did well over the likes of Kerry as well for years to come. That Mayo team, the bulk of that, Lee Keegan might retire now. And that could be the end. Like Lee Keegan outstanding this year. And maybe this is the exodus for Mayo players that they don't need. And like there's going to be a huge rebuilding job in Mayo. Like, you know, I thought honestly Mayo would put up a better chance than they did against Kerry. And whoever comes in now, whether it be Stephen Rochford, whether it be Malik O'Rourke maybe, but he's doing a good job at Glen, maybe he'll stick to that project now. Maybe he'll go out to be like Mead or without a manager, you know. So there's a lot of managerial merry-go-rounds maybe, like we did in the past year with Cork and Kildare and all that. Now it's Mayo and Meath. This is going to be a very interesting time for Mayo fans. But like honestly, just looking at that Mayo team in Croke Park and seeing the James Horan use yesterday, I'm honestly worried for this Mayo team whether they'll be at such a high stage at All-Ireland semi-final or final again in the next few years. Like even they had 12 wides against Kerry, they had more shots against Kerry, but there was always the feeling they were going to lose the game. You know, I just thought this is the end for this Mayo team. Even James Horan leaving, Lee Keegan, Kevin McLaughlin. You don't know about Cillian O'Connor now. Some people say it's finished. I think that's a bit harsh in all honesty. But this year he wasn't at his brilliant best. You know, maybe the injury had more of an effect on him than we thought. Like Aidan O'Shea, what's going to happen to him? Like, you know, it's going to be a large exodus again of Mayo players, I think, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Lee Keegan and Kevin McLaughlin, whether they'll leave now. Like Lee Keegan's so imperative to that Mayo team. I'd be honest, I don't know what you think yourself, Aaron. I'd be worried about this Mayo team going forward, whether they'll have the drive again to go. Like they certainly, I don't think there was just something off about them on Sunday. Like they didn't put up the Kerry really any stage in the game. I thought Kerry were largely comfortable. And it's going to be a tough time to be a Mayo fan, I think, in the next few years. And when they'll win All-Ireland next, God knows.
Yeah, funny enough, I actually would still think, funny enough, that they're gonna. I don't think they'll win the All-Ireland next year or anything like that. But I still think they might still be thereabouts. Like they still have Tommy Conroy, Ryan O'Donoghue to come back from injury. I think when you get them two back in your side, like I think you're still. You've got two of the best forwards in the country there, in my opinion. Do you know, like the Miners obviously are in an All-Ireland final this year. All right, fair enough. It'll be a couple of years before they come through, but there's a couple of good players there that could definitely get Mayo fans excited. Like they've been thereabouts in the under-20s. Like they've been getting to, you know, Connacht finals and everything else. And the Connacht sides have done quite well in the All-Ireland series in the under-20s the last couple of years. So, like, I still think there's a good crop of players coming through there. In my opinion, like I still think there's a couple of players now. Obviously, as you said, like if they lose Lee Keegan, Kevin McLaughlin, Aidan O'Shea, Cillian O'Connor, like losing them four in the one summer, shall we say, like that's a huge turnover of players. Like, and I think, you know, like I think the one player for me that's virtually unreplaceable is Lee Keegan. Like I think he's been probably Mayo's, and maybe not probably, he's been the best player of this sort of like generation of Mayo players. If we were to go from 2012 up till now, like he's the one player that's turned up in All-Ireland finals, that's kicked big points, big goals and big moments. I remember one he got against Dublin, like in an All-Ireland semi-final. He's been so big and he's been so crucial defensively as well. So losing him will be crucial, but I suspect that like they won't have I don't think all of them will leave in the same, like in this summer. I think there might be a few of them that be curious to stick around maybe with a new manager. They might wait maybe like, you know, like, because if it was a Jim McGuinness, let's say, I could see a lot of those lads being like, you know what, right, we'll stick around for another year. So I think it really depends now on who the next manager is, to be honest.
It does, definitely. But at the same time, would McGuinness take up his role in Mayo when he's getting that money from Sky and the soccer deals and everything? Yeah. Like, would he take the Mayo job? And maybe, like, I don't know, there's a bit of a rivalry between Donegal and Mayo as well. I'm not sure would Donegal fans totally agree with him going to Mayo. That'll be another another topic there. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised. Like, a few Mayo fans are talking about Stephen Rochford returning. I'm not sure will he return. In all honesty, honestly wouldn't shock me if he returned. I don't think he will though. Probably your man Dempsey from Knockmore probably will. Kieran MacDonald is another name that I've seen, but at the same time, that has kind of vibes about let's say Frank Lampard of the Premier League or Steven Gerrard stepping into managers way too soon. I think Kieran MacDonald needs a few more years to develop, maybe in the backroom team with Mayo before he gets a top job. I heard in your podcast Andy Moran might be. I think he needs another year at Leitrim, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
like it's a big one. This is a big appointment now for Mayo. All the media outlets point toward Dempsey because the two others, Moran and MacDonald, are inexperienced. Rochford and McGuinness, will they leave their roles up in Donegal or Sky Sports? I don't think they will. Well, maybe Declan Bonner is going to leave Donegal. Maybe there's a option to get Stephen Rochford in, but would he return to Mayo? That's the big question after he had 4 years. You know, it's a big decision for Mayo, and honestly, like, it probably would if Jim McGuinness. I don't think he will, but if Jim McGuinness does get appointed as Mayo manager, Lee Keegan will definitely stick around because there's another year in him, definitely. And Kevin McLaughlin, I'm not so sure, but that's for another discussion. He's mostly a bench player nowadays. Aidan O'Shea will probably stick around. Killian O'Connor will stick around. So, whereas I think if Dempsey came in, I think those players would leave. I know, not disregarding what he did a lot more, but he's not like the dream appointment that these Mayo players would want. If you know what I'm saying. But I would be surprised if I honestly would be shocked if Kieran MacDonald stepped up, but I think it's a bit too soon for him. If you know, like Jim McGuinness, would he do it? Would he leave Donegal, leave Sky Sports to go to Mayo? I'm not sure he will, but that would be some appointment if Mayo did it. But is the money there at Mayo to get Jim McGuinness in? You know, if he doesn't go to Dublin or if he doesn't go to Cork, why would he go to Mayo? You know, so that's what I'm thinking. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if he was ever offered the Dublin job, to be honest. But I suppose at the same time, yeah, like I think, yeah, I couldn't see him. I think there's a lot of moving parts to that, and like what you said, he's very involved with soccer at the minute. Like it's probably not going to happen. Like maybe he might be open to it. I'm not sure, but you know, and again, it's sort of an interesting one because obviously Mayo do play quite a running game, so maybe Jim McGuinness coming in would suit that, but at the same time, they're not an overly defensive team. It would be kind of a breakaway from how they've played under James Horn, so it would be interesting. But speaking of managerial candidates, Jimmy Slyan says here Lee Keegan will give it another rattle with the new manager, so he's tuning in there potentially in the running there as well. AJ Walsh O'Donnell says Ray Dempsey is favourite at the minute. So what were you going to say?
Another one I was thinking of is Jimmy Slyan. Have you heard about him on Twitter?
yeah.
Like I'm seeing the odds basically. I don't know what he's saying. I think I've seen on Connor sketches. Alan Dillon, Killian O'Connor, and Aidan O'Shea or something like that, and maybe that could be an option. Jimmy Slyan, throwing boots at the wall or something like that to try. Maybe that would win me out on Ireland. What a story that would be.
Yeah, I've seen Tim O'Leary's in the running as well, and Buffy Egan and everything. So they're definitely throwing a lot in the specials for managers. Anyway, AJ Walsh is aiming Fitzmaurice, which might be a mad show. I mean, I've heard a lot of names. Like I've heard Fitzmaurice, I've heard Jim Gavin's even been a name that people have mentioned. I couldn't see that happening, to be honest. Even who says Kevin McStay maybe could be an option. I suppose it'll be interesting, and certainly we'll obviously have to keep an eye on it. But I suppose finishing up just on Kerry briefly. I mean, I suppose we won't discuss Dublin Cork too much. Like we've already kind of gone through it already. It was Dublin 21 points, Cork 10 points. But I mean, Kerry going up against the Dubs, the El Clasico of Gaelic football in a couple of weeks' time. I mean, obviously it's a while away yet before we know all the details of it, but I mean, it's one of the biggest games in Gaelic football down the years, and I suppose you hear Jack O'Connor obviously saying in an interview that these lads have sort of been yarning at getting a crack at the Dubs the last couple of years, and it's interesting because when you look at Kerry, for all their great players that they have, and for Dublin, the fact that they've obviously won 6 in a row, they haven't played each other since 2019, and even before that, they hadn't played each other since 2016. So like, it's two teams that actually, weirdly enough, even though they've played each other a lot in the league, aren't actually too familiar with each other at championship level. So that's what I think will make it more fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. Like, talking about the two games, the quarterfinals, for a brief moment, like the Kerry Mayo game, I thought was a weird atmosphere. Maybe it was after the last game, there was rain pelting down as well. Like, it wasn't a great game to watch, in all honesty. I was actually thinking of walking up and getting to the train home or something like that. It was just didn't alight whatsoever, and Kerry easily got over the line. But maybe that's the plan for Paddy Tally, just to make games as boring as possible and get over the line. Kerry fans probably don't like it. I've been hearing it off the ball. They don't like this style for Paddy Tally, but at the same time, it's winning them games, and they're all Ireland favourites. So, yeah, Kerry getting over this game against Dublin. And as for Dublin, I honestly don't think there's an All-Ireland this Dublin team. Like, I've seen enough against Cork. Like, as we mentioned previously, Cork played the defensive structure in the first half and broke away at pace. Obviously, Cork couldn't sustain that for the full 70 minutes. It's strength and conditioning. It will take years for this Cork team. But for Dublin, like, there was moments where Kieran Kilkenny was surrounded by Cork players, and this is only Cork, and if that was a better team, maybe that would have been a bigger margin to victory, in my opinion anyway. Dublin weren't that great. But as for Cork, strength and conditioning will be a big thing over the next few years. Sean Meehan came on. That was a pleasing aspect for them. John Cleary getting the players in the huddle. This team will be coming in the next few years. I see Conor Corbett warming up as well before the Dublin game. He'll be a big asset in the next few years. And I think this team is going in the right direction. John Cleary, I'd rather him stay on as manager now instead of keep Rickett now next year. That'll be a big decision for the Cork GAA County Board. And we have to go into Division 2 now next year thinking, other than Derry and Dublin, we have to win every other game now next year. None of this thinking, we're nervous as Cork fans going into the game. We have to go in as favourites for those games. We have to go in and win those games. And look, it's been a good year for Cork. And we're developing. We're a good team, and we'll move on to next year now. No, onto the semi-final after all that. I honestly think this will be a boring enough game. I just think it'll be kind of like the Kerry and Mayo game. Paddy Tally will have something up his sleeve. Kerry will probably play defensive tactics. As much as Kerry fans don't like it, it will win them games. It's not necessarily into Kerry's DNA. Clifford injury thing in the last game, I honestly didn't buy it. Like, Kerry fans have said this in the past, and he scores a goal. I don't think he was injured at all. Like he didn't look injured. I don't know what you think yourself, Aaron. Like, but I think this game, it does set a light in the past few years, but I just think with Paddy Tally there, Kerry will try and kill the game, and Dublin will not find a way past them. But what's crucial to Dublin now, James McCarthy and Conor O'Callaghan, if they're fit for this game, I'd give them some sort of a chance. But I just think this Kerry team is a well-oiled machine. Like Sean O'Shea at centre forward, Paudie Clifford didn't have his best game. Paul Geaney is a player who's gone under the radar. He scored 8 points for play in the championship so far. He's been absolutely outstanding, So, I think Kerry will win this game. I think they'll try and kill it as much as possible. But it wouldn't surprise me if Dublin have Con back, if they have James McCarthy back, they could pull a surprise in this game.
Yeah, like I think when Dublin have Con O'Callaghan in the side, like they're a different team. Like, and I think that's the worry is we seem to without Con O'Callaghan, we don't have like a vocal point in a full forward. And you seen against Cork again, it was like going back to National League Dublin. It was just passing it from side to side. And again, like against Kerry, like without Con O'Callaghan in there, like I think that's a worry. And the fact that we're so reliant on him as well, I think is another big worry as well. Like, and as you said, like you could envisage Kerry sort of playing, being a bit defensive, because like Dublin have struggled against teams that have been defensive this year. That's kind of just how it's been. And I think you could see a scenario where Kerry maybe play a little bit like that against the Dubs. But I do think it will be maybe a bit of a tactical sort of chess match, more so than people think. I think people think of the swashbuckling, classic games between Dublin and Kerry down the years, like 2019 or 2013, 2016. Not sure we'll quite get that To be perfectly honest. John says here, Dublin v Kerry hard to call as they're evenly matched. Depends a lot on O'Callaghan and Clifford. Fitness levels. Like, I suppose with the Clifford thing, like what you said, like, I mean, like he trips over the ball and then he's limping a little bit. But I suppose like what you said, like if it had been a serious injury, like surely they would have took him off. So it does seem to be like a lot of mind games really with David Clifford. Like, I mean, like he started the game and he played. I think he did. I don't even think he got substituted in the end. Did he? I don't even think he did.
He didn't. No. Like it's normal with Kerry fans. They'll make up a story and then they'll say, it's something to worry about this Kerry team. But at the same, he then comes back at the team miraculously, and Kerry win the game by 6 or 7 points afterwards. It's just a Kerry thing. I think with Kerry beat rivals with Cork and Kerry beat rivals with Dublin, we both know, Aaron, Kerry fans are particularly sneaky about this. They'll make up a story and then they'll go with it. I was in Crow Park and I didn't see anything wrong with Clifford. I don't know with your view on the TV. Did you see anything wrong with Clifford? I didn't personally.
I mean, it looked like he sort of, like, I don't know, like maybe he kind of tripped over the ball a little bit. Maybe it looked like maybe he could have like been a slight sprain in his ankle. Like watching the first 20 minutes, I was a little bit worried because he was limping quite a lot. But to be fair, he did jog it off. Like, and clearly once he put the ball in the back of the net, like he was as fit as a fiddle then. Like he was back and back amongst the races. Like, I mean, you don't know, like sometimes with these things you could wake up the next day and your foot could be a bit like a balloon, I suppose, to quote Conor McGregor there. Like, so I mean, it could be a bit like that. We just don't know. Like Jack O'Connor is obviously saying it'll be, it was kind of funny watching his interview after. He's saying, it'll be a race. It'll be a race for fitness now. Like, I mean, it's like, it is funny, all right, to be honest, when you see all this crack. Like,
it is, yeah. Like even Kerry a few seasons ago, they were talking about, Paul Galvin's not going to be fit for the Munster final when Cork were good and all that, and Paul Galvin's not going to be fit for the game against Tyrone or something like that. Kerry fans, they always do this. We've been around the block so many years to know that Kerry fans just do this. And look at David Clifford, he looked fine. Sean O'Shea, they all looked fine, I think. It's just Mayo were under the caution. I thought Mayo were particularly poor this year. That's why Kerry strolled to victory in the end. I mean, I don't buy this crack. I don't think Dublin have pulled off stunts like this, really. I don't think, like, if Conor O'Callaghan, if they say Conor O'Callaghan's injured, he's injured. If James McCarthy is injured, he's injured. With Dublin, it's a straight story. With Kerry, they kind of twist things a small bit. Like, I don't know. I know you'd be a bit biased in that opinion, Aaron, but do you think Dublin twists things as much as Kerry?
Yeah, well, like I probably not, to be honest. I'm trying to think of incidents off my head to, I suppose, remain impartial or remain neutral. Like the only thing I can think of from a Dublin perspective was maybe Jeremy Connolly a little bit around 2019 when he obviously couldn't get into America and there's no real discussion of him coming back in the side. And then I think Jim Gavin let it slip. I think before the I think it was the All Ireland semi-finals maybe. Jim Gavin's back in the team, like just out of nowhere, like just like that. Like maybe that was the only thing a little bit, just kind of it was a little bit sneaky. And then even kind of leading up to the final as well, like no one really knew if he'd be in the panel or anything like that, like and different kind of scenarios around that. Like I'm sure there have been some instances, and I'm sure there will be Kerry fans that will point them out. So feel free to do so. But I suppose it's tricks of the trade and it's the dark arts. And look, it's worked for Kerry so many times. So I suppose why would they change, I guess?
Yeah, look, it's amazing. There's no dark arts in the other game with Derry and Galway. If they say they're fit, they're fit. And with this Dublin Kerry game, there's mind games all over the place. Like it's actually intriguing to watch this, and even in the hurling, like I've been hearing from fans, the two sneakiest kind of fans in hurling, it's probably Kilkenny. In football, it's Kerry. That's the general consensus of this. That they say players are injured, and then it goes up to the game. It goes to Friday, to Saturday, to Sunday, and Sunday they're fit again. The magic wand has done the trick, I mean, it's gone on for ages now. it's gone on since about 2008, 2009, since teams have been announced on the Thursday or whatever. And yeah, even Dublin don't announce their team until the morning of the game, the actual morning of the game. So Kerry, in fairness, don't announce it until Friday. So maybe that's a sneaky thing that Dublin do, kind of keep Kerry guessing. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. That's a thing to behold there. But I think it is very interesting to see the comparison or the difference between the Derry and Galway game, the lead up to that, and the game between Kerry and Dublin. I think it's very interesting to look at. And I don't know which they'd rather see, two teams that are being honest or two teams that play a bit of mind games a small little bit.
Yeah, because even as well, like I think it was actually the Kerry game when Dublin were playing Kerry that Conor O'Callaghan was named a full forward and then wasn't even on the bench. Like, I mean, like it was someone else who was wearing a completely different number. So a lot of the times as well, I remember even a few years, like I think Bernard Brogan was meant to be playing and then wasn't in the, like just loads of madness really sometimes. But sure, look, we'll obviously have to wait and see. Jimmy says Clifford was as shaken as me after 10 points in the first half on that ankle. So good man, Jimmy, never change. John also says Mayo missed so many scores throughout the game. They weren't clinical enough. Clifford wasn't carrying an injury as if he was. They would have substituted him as not to risk him as they would as the game was won. I actually did have a look back there on the Scorpio app, and as PJP says here, David Clifford was substituted late in the second half. Yeah, he was substituted on the 67th minute. So, but like the game was pretty much done and dusted. Like I think if it was a more serious injury, they surely would have taken him off. But yeah, look, I suppose we will go ahead and wrap this up here. Cheers very much, Matthew, for coming on. And I suppose the Dubs did the work and unfortunately exited the Rebels out of the championship. But sure, look, I'm sure we'll see us back again at some point in the future.
We'll be back next year, no doubt about that, Aaron. And the All-Ireland is coming soon. It's coming soon. Again, as most Cork fans will say, we're once in 20 years team. So judging by that, we'll win the All-Ireland in 2030, 8 years' time. We're going to be back. But thanks for having me on again. And I'll be up for Dublin definitely in the semi-final anyway. And hopefully you'll smash Kerry in the semi-final.
Hopefully. That'll be